Well, hello and welcome to the channel. Now this is a bit of a different one really, because it's kind of two edits in one. So I've got the Airshot. I purchased this earlier in the year. If you don't know what it is, it's a cylinder that holds a load of compressed air, and it is an easy tubeless solution. Now why just show you or review this when I can take you through the entire setup to go tubeless while using it? So let's just dive straight into it. First step to going tubeless, obviously take your wheel off and let all the air out so that it makes it easier to take the tyre off. The next step, really simple again. Once that air's out, it will be easier to push the tyre bead wall into the centre of your rim and just work it hard. It might be stiff to begin with, but once you get it, you can see there that it's actually going into the centre really easily. And if you can, then turn the tyre around if it makes it easier and push the other side, because you're going to take the tyre off completely in order to actually set it up for the first time tubeless anyway. Get some tyre levers. I've got part tool ones just because they really are good, so you get what you pay for when it comes to tools. Undo the tyre on one side, and then you can just follow it round, nice and easy, and that's us halfway to getting tyre off. Remove this nut that helps keep the inner tube in place. Keep hold of it because you can save this stuff and use the inner tube should tubeless fail later on down the line. And then remove the inner tube from the wheel completely. Next step, you want to take the tyre off. So because you've made that easier on some of those previous steps, it should just come off quite simply the way it did there. Now if you're doing this for the first time, I'm noticing that on a lot of the bikes that are sold straight from the shops, that they already come tubeless ready, where you might have the rim tape in there. Now this is just a DIY shop tape. It's called T-Rex, you may have heard of that, or there's a more commonly known one called Gorilla Tape. I just find it so much cheaper. You get a lot more for your money, and it does the same job. But I'm going to take this out because it does look worse for wear, and I'm going to take you through that whole process of how to put it back in there. So let's just rip this tape out, and then I've got to clean the rim underneath to make sure that it will bond well when I stick the new batch in. So once you get started, it's nice and easy. I'll come back when it's done. I'm just coming to the last bit, and that is on there so much stronger than I thought it would be. But what happens when you take it off and it's been on there a while, it leaves this sort of sticky residue that you get on most tapes, and that's exactly what we don't want. So we're going to have to clean up this area, because if you want a new layer to bond really well, it needs to have that clean surface. Now the easiest way to do this is using alcohol spray. Now just get it in there. I've got a really dirty rag here, but when you use alcohol spray, it just destroys adhesive really easily. Now once you've done that, it's taken me about 15 minutes. I've spent a bit of time to get it right. Now I'll get a clean rag, put some of that spray on, and then just go round to clean the area. Again, worthwhile doing, because while it looks immaculate, I'll show you in a second just how much this will pick up. Like I say, preparation is key, and you can see there just how much grime it's actually picked up still. So I'm going to do that once more. I'll do it off camera, and then we're ready to start going tubeless. I hope you'll agree, everything has been really quite simple so far. Now on my previous how to go tubeless edit, someone said, well Mike, how do you know the internal width of the particular rim that you've got? Now you can go on Google and get that exact measurement, but just quite simply get a tape measure, and I can see for myself that that's 30mm internal width. So when you get your tape, now it's quite important that you get the right tape. You can't just use a masking tape because it won't hold that air gap. It's not strong enough. This T-Rex tape, really good. Got this from B&Q in the UK, but it is an American brand. And you've got the Gorilla Tape as well. All you need to do is measure the same distance, and then it will fit inside. But it's crucial that you take note of this. It's the valve hole. You don't want to start the tape or finish the tape at that area. So make sure you go up the rim a little bit, but always set it so that it's not over one of the holes. It actually sort of goes on this part here, and it will just give you a better seal. So what I mean is, stick it on like so. Let's get rid of that little pennant sticking off. And I'm going to put that there and set it inside, pull it nice and tight, and then you can see as I go over that valve hole, I'm going to have that airtight seal as we go round. So just do it in little steps. Don't pull off a big bit of tape and then hope to get it round, and then you can push it down as you do it. Okay, so I've got to this point here and you can see that that's where I started. So when you come to finish, you want to carry that on. You don't want to break the seal there because you want that to be as airtight as it can be. So bring it round, look for where that valve hole is, which is just where my finger's sort of pointing out, and make sure you take it over about another 6, 7, 10 inches, whatever you want. And this tape rips really easily. So just get those pennants off and then stick it down like so. Now I'm more than satisfied that the tape is sealed in there really well, but what you need to do is locate that valve hole, and I can actually see, hopefully you can on there, that the circle there, push the valve in, it should be tight like it is there. That's why you make it smaller than it needs to be. But the important thing at this point, if you do go out and buy this kit, it's about 20 quid, is to put the O-ring on, and then you've got your nut that you stick on as well. And it's got a recessed area in it, so as you push it up, it binds onto that O-ring and just creates that perfect airtight seal. It's all about the preparation, so new tyre or old, make sure you just inspect the inside, and if there's any debris in there, give yourself half a chance, because those debris could cause you punctures if you don't get them out. So just spend a little bit of time, just make sure, and if you need to, give it a good wipe out. Now this is really important, especially if you're not used to doing this kind of stuff. Now on every premium tyre you have a rotation arrow. I'll zoom in for you now. You must make sure that that is facing the direction that the tyre would actually go. Now, I've got one side on already. With most decent tyres, you'll have all the logos on the side of the tyre. I do like to line it up with the logos that are on the rim. Just looks neat. It's just an OCD thing probably. But yeah, spend the time to get that right, because once you've got the tyre on, you can't just move it round even when it's got no air in. So you have to do it at this stage where you've only got one side on. I'll do it off camera because it's just a little bit awkward. I'm just going to seat the bead. There's no inner tube in there because we're going tubeless. I've got the good tyre levers. Like I say, I'm going to do it off camera. I'll come back when it's seated. So here it is, the Airshot. It's a means of compressing 160 psi in there, so that when you release it, it inflates into the tyre nice and quick, and you get that seal of the bead on the side walls of the rim. Now you can go out and buy a compressor pump. They are pretty expensive across all the models, but this particular Airshot was £45 using the £5 discount code that normally comes up on Treads, so be sure to check them out. So in order to use this, just going to lay it down. You connect the bayonet to the actual valve, and that's the reason you take the valve core out, so that it will maximise that flow. Just make sure it's on nice and tight, because there will be a lot of PSI, you don't want it coming off. Make sure the bottle is turned off, so that as I charge the bottle with the air that's getting compressed, it's not escaping into the tube. Now I have no special pump here by any means, it's just a eBay special, but put it onto the top, and then here comes the part where you've got to then inflate it. Okay, I've gone to 110 there. I know that sort of pressure works for me in general. So one of two things is going to happen. As I release the air, you're going to hear the tyre with all the rush of air pop onto the sidewall, or it may just inflate. You might not get any popping, but I'll show you what you can do to carry on the process if it hasn't completely seated itself on the rim wall. So here we go. So I've got no pops, leave the valve open and continue to pump. That's the beauty of it. Get it seated. You might hear a pop in a minute. You might not. I'm at 30 psi there. You can still hear it going. And that is 40 psi. And if I have a look, I can see that it's seated there, and it has completely seated around the back as well. So I'm happy that it is inflated. It's holding the PSI that I've just put in with the pump, but it's time to undo it. You'll get that rush of air coming out again. Here we go. Because what we have to do is add the magic ingredient, which is the tubeless sealant. I want to make this as simple as possible for you. So I use this muck-off, no puncture tubeless sealant. And the reason I use this, it's not because I've got a muck-off valve, it's actually because it's £20 for a litre, and you just can't get any other brand that cheap that does such an exceptional job. So with this, you get a tube. Once you've made the cuts that you need to on there to insert the tube, just make sure you remove the plastic piece. It stops it spilling everywhere. And just put that somewhere where it's not going to cause a problem. Put that back on, and then quite simply put the tube on. Now the good thing is this comes with a measuring guide on the side, and I'm going to look to put about 100 mils in. So just look where it sits now and then put the tube on. So just make absolutely certain, yep, tube on, and then squeeze it in. It really is that simple. Now I'm going to put about 100 mils in. Just take the tube off a second, let that sit, and I will always put a little bit more than what's recommended, just purely to get a good seal on the tyre initially, and then to make sure that once it's created that film around the tyre, that there's actually enough in there to seal the tyre. Just put in a little bit more. You can do multiple tyres with this amount of tubeless sealant, which makes it a very good purchase. Time to take the tube off, but make sure you have something to catch the sealant as it comes out, because it's still in the tube, and then just give it a wipe down. We're almost there. You put back in the valve. I've got a valve core remover, and on the muck-off kit you actually get a valve core remover with it, which is good. And then just make sure that's nice and tight. Loosen up this, and then I'm going to put the air back into the tyre. I'm going to take it up to probably 40 psi. Once you're at the psi you want, take it off, make sure that you do the valve up. Don't want the air escaping. And then one important thing that I highly recommend is you just spend a moment and work that sealant around the tyre on both sides. And if there is a little air leak, it's a really good chance that doing this will seal it up. Final two things, just make sure you clean up the area. It's quite messy when it just sticks to the tyre. Done the other side already, and then put your cover back on. Well, that's it. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Tubeless setup made easy, but made even easier by using the Airshot. So it's nice to get both of those in to give you a tutorial that is just going to hopefully make you think that actually going tubeless is fairly easy. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, throw your comments in down below, and of course subscribe somewhere over there. Press the logo. I'd love to see you come back for more content, but until then, I'll see you for the next one.